Hello everyone, this is your friend Uzumkai Universe 2.0 and we are back in new fanfic. What if Naruto revival the Senju clan and build own harem with Tsunade Part 1? It was just a typical day for Tsunade Senju. Doing nothing but paperwork. Every Kage's arch nemesis. And she hates paperwork. It's been a month since she's became Hokage, as the Senju heiress was just casually looking at some boring paperwork. Paperwork that she loathed. She should be drinking, eating, and no doubt gamble. With a sigh, she would get up and walk towards the window of her office, looking down at her grandfather's village. Shifted her eyes to the Hokage monument. Soon her face will be on there next to Minato's. She moved her gaze over down at the populace of Konoha. Seeing the villagers do their daily things as usual. Her eyes went over to a mother and her child walk away from THR store from her window with happy smiles on their faces. A hint of sadness would come on the busty Senju's face as she went back to her seat and sat back down at her desk, slowly gazing at some pictures on her desk. Picture of her sensei and both her teammates. A picture of her and her younger brother Nawaki Senju. Then another picture of her and Dan. A mental image appeared in the Senju heiress's mind. Visualizing what it would be like if Dan was alive. She dreamed of marrying her beloved Dan. And have his children, since back then the Senju clan was just down to her and her little brother Nawaki Senju. Sadly, her little kid brother died on a mission. Had he been alive, perhaps he could have helped continue the Senju bloodline. With him dead, she was all what was left of the Senju clan. So she wanted children from Dan to at least bring a child into the Senju clan. Of course Tsunade and Dan had before. She was hardly a virgin. They only had once, and so on she's been trying to at least conceive a child with him. Then on that fateful day, her beloved Dan died. On S mission 2, an ambush, from enemy shinobi, which broke her heart. After his death she discovered something since she wasn't showing any signs of pregnancy. She had ran a diagnostic on Dan's seed that she kept in the Konoha sperm bank in the hospital. She learned that Dan was infertile. His sperm was low and poor, which broke her heart further that Dan couldn't even get her pregnant. Her dream to have his children is gone. It was after that she lost the will to try conceiving with anyone. She still feels the desire to have a child. Jiraiya had been constantly begging to sleep with her, in which she gave it a shot. However, the moment she tried doing it with Jiraiya, she was disgusted by Jiraiya's pathetic tool in between his legs. He was small and has warts all over his. She immediately rejected him and threatened that if he ever spoke of this to Shizune or anyone, she'd kill him. He was small while Dan was between 7 and 8 inches. There was no hope for the Senju clan, no one worthy to get her pregnant. Knowing it's a possibility that if she dies, so will the Senju clan. Her eyes shifted over to a picture of her and a young Kushina Uzumaki. Someone else she cherished as a surrogate daughter, whom is also gone. If only there were any Uzumaki men around. But sadly they are extinct. A trade secret. She had learned something very naughty from her grandma Mito Uzumaki. Her grandma Mito was drunk and had told her that Uzumaki men are way more developed, plus with the insane Uzumaki stamina as well. Not to mention the females have that same Uzumaki stamina. She in a way is partially Uzumaki herself on her grandmother's side. It's a shame, really. She wished there was at least one Uzumaki male ally. Her honey brown eyes widened as she gasped. There is one Uzumaki male alive. Her thoughts turned to a certain blonde-haired jumpsuit boy. A light bulb clicked above her head. Maybe there is hope for me, she thought with wide eyes at the realization. Maybe he is the answer, she added. Apparently there is one Uzumaki. And he's right here, in the village. An unfamiliar lustful smile appears on her face. As she had an idea, she has to know if Naruto is developed, like the all Uzumaki men she heard from her grandma Mito. But there's one problem. She doubts Naruto knows what is. Unless she teaches him. Which shouldn't be hard to do. Besides, he's registered as an adult now in the shinobi laws. Due to him being Uzumaki, he likely gets it from the Uzumaki side rather than the Namikaze side. Since Uzumaki genes are superior according from Mito Uzumaki. Not to mention he has the Kyuubi inside him, which makes him an insane powerhouse. She wonders though, if she goes through with this, will Kushina ever forgive her if she were to die? Would Dan be disgusted in her turning to a boy for? How would Mito, her grandpa and grand-uncle react to her going through with this? No time for sentimental thoughts. She needs to get pregnant. She refuses to die, without at least having an heir or some children to keep the Senju bloodline alive. Her womb demands to be impregnated and swollen with life. Neko. Tsunade calls out. Yes, Hokage-sama, Neko says, bowing to her leader. Bring me Naruto Uzumaki. Tsunade commanded as Neko nodded her head and vanishes in a swirl of leaves. If she goes through with this, there is no turning back. This is her only chance. And Naruto is her only chance and hope to revive the Senju clan. She just hopes the rumors she heard from Mito are true about Uzumaki men being more developed than other men. Plus, in a way, she's helping him too, bringing more life to the Uzumaki clan. In return for her giving her what she wants, she will promote Naruto to Chunin. She will give him whatever he desires if he can usurp her expectations. She will also have to break his silly crush on that Haruno girl. Since she seems more interested in the Uchiha brat, he needs a real woman in his life. What about Shizune? How will her student react to her going through this? She doubts Shizune would understand. It's best that she keeps Shizune in the dark about this. Since this is personal. She heard the doors being opened, making her turn to glance at Neko and Naruto. Thank you, Neko. Dismissed. Naruto stepped forward. Tsunade says sternly as Neko vanished, leaving just Naruto and Tsunade alone in the office. Am I in trouble? Naruto asked, stepping forward to her desk. As she smiled at him. Of course not. Thank you for coming on such short notice, Naruto. I've called you here to take you to the Konoha hospital for a checkup. She says with him raising a brow. A checkup? He repeated. Yes. It's been long since you had one, right? She says. Well, I can't remember when the last time I had one at the top of my head. He answered. She smiled at this. Come with me. We are going to get you checked out for your physical and I will be examining you personally. She says, getting up, heading for the office doors as he followed her. Will Shizune Nichan come with us? Or could I try to get Sakura-chan to come join us? He asked as Tsunade gave him a stern look. Shizune has other things to tend to, and no, Sakura can't come either. This is private. You wouldn't want anyone to know anything private about your physical, right? She says, seeing him frown lightly. She didn't want Shizune to butt in and get in the way for what she's about to do. And she really doesn't want his bitch of a teammate coming. I guess, he replied. Good. Now let's get going, she says, smiling at his innocence. He won't be a boy anymore after this. Tsunade had taken Naruto to the hospital. Taking him to a private section of the hospital, she told him to wait in the hallway until she calls his name. Now inside the private hospital room, Tsunade was setting up everything while Naruto is to wait outside. She had set up sound barrier seals all around the room so no one won't hear or dare eavesdrop for what's about to unfold in this room. Besides, this private section of the hospital is labeled for S rank. Anyone who tries going to the private section who isn't authorized to come to this part of the hospital would be put to death. When he comes in, she'll lock the door. Well, she has a stretcher bed for him to lay on for when they get it on. Perfect. Everything is set. Now time to get him some medicine. She smiled, pleased with everything she's done so far. Now that leaves her to get dressed. She would proceed to change her clothes. Wearing an all-pink nurse outfit with a pink nurse hat on her head. White stockings on her thick muscular thighs, The pink nurse outfit clinged tightly to her thick body, making it look tight on her, as she wore pink shoes and pink gloves. Now let me bring him in, she says. With Naruto currently sitting outside the hallway waiting for Tsunade to call him inside. As he looked both ways, he's never been to this part of the hospital before and wondered why Tsunade brought him here. Come on in, Naruto. He heard Tsunade call out to him as he stood up from his chair and would walk into the hospital room. Once he did, he saw Tsunade in a whole different appearance, seeing her in a pink nurse outfit that looked too tight on her, as she held a notepad. He faintly blushed at her appearance. Like what you see, Naruto? She asked. You look nice, Ba-chan. He says. Normally she would sock him for calling her that, but right now she didn't care, she needed to focus. Why thank you, Naruto. Are you ready for your physical? She says with him nodding. You bet. He says with his usual smile and thumbs up. And so, Tsunade checked Naruto's weight, his height, and would begin to draw his blood. Along with everything else. Well, you look healthy, Naruto. I strongly suggest you should start taking vitamins. She says with him raising a brow. Vitamins? He repeated with confusion. Yes. I have something I want you to take. She says, holding a GL of water and a vitamin bottle. Here. I want you to try one. She opens the bottle and gives him one. Well, I'll give these a try. He says, taking the vitamin and tossing it in his mouth, and would gulp down the GL of water to swallow. Tsunade smiled as he did this. So, she asked. The vitamin tastes strange, and he says, feeling a strange sensation run through his body. What's the matter? She asked. I don't know. I feel strange. He says, feeling hot for some reason. Ba-chan, I'm hot. He says as she touched his forehead. Oh my, you are hot. Here, let me get something. She says, turning away to find something as she bended over. She was doing this on purpose, she wanted to give him a good view of her. Naruto watched Tsunade bend over. As he stared at her. As she swayed her fat sideways while she was looking for something in the cabinet, seeing her wear a pink thong underneath that nurse dress of hers. Naruto couldn't stop looking as his cheeks reddened and feels a sensation that he was not familiar with. He immediately looked down to his jumpsuit pants. His growing, it's literally poking in a tent. Ba-chan, my, he was too embered to even say it. She immediately stopped and turned to face him and glanced at the throbbing member that was threatening to pop right out of his jumpsuit. Oh, what's wrong? She says with fake concern in her voice, looking at the throbbing growing that's currently forming into a huge tent bulge in his jumpsuit pants. Behind her fake concerned expression was lust. Now she must see what he's like. My, it hurts, Ba-chan. It won't stop getting big. He says, trying to push his hard erection down. It suddenly got big when I looked at your butt. He says, admitting that he stared at her, which made her smile. Here, let me get a good look. She says, walking over, but Naruto looked up in concern and shock. Wait, you want to look at it? He squeaked incredulously. Well, I'm a doctor, right? It's my job to see what's wrong with my patient. So let me have a look. I can't help you if you won't show me. She says, waiting for him to do it. Do those pills have some kind of weird side effect? He says, grunting in pain. His is throbbing violently and won't stop getting bigger. Tsunade looked at the pill bottle of vitamins, in which really wasn't vitamins, but rather Viagra. Well, I see a side effect of swelling. I want to see it, Naruto, now. She said sternly. Naruto's face turned completely red, as he had no choice but to unzip and discard his clothing and underwear once he did. His stood up fully erect as it twitched. Holy shit. Tsunade says mentally with her mouth agape and eyes widened in shock at how big Naruto is. She was unable to look away, looking at his swelling big balls. Why is it so big? Am I considered a freak now? He yelled in shock at the size of his junk. Tsunade was frozen. as she stared at the most fattest she ever laid eyes on. Her hardened in her nurse outfit. Her suddenly began to get wet. He is hung as a horse. So the rumors about Uzumaki men being more developed are true. Grandma Mito. You lucky bitch. Tsunade says in thought as she suddenly walked over to Naruto, inspecting his huge length, inhaling his scent and musk. From it as she firmly grasped it, suddenly getting a reaction out of it, it twitched from her touch. She immediately pulled out a measuring tape and could see that Naruto was indeed rivaling a horse's shaft. Naruto was damn near 17 inches. And Jiraiya had the nerve to brag about how big his junk was, yet his is small and looks like a small pencil with warts all over it. Hence why Jiraiya could never get any woman do the deed with him. Orochimaru didn't count, because he's gay. He's much bigger than Dan, she added in thought, feeling the sheer thickness of it. As she touched his balls, she could feel the cum inside them churn and pulse when touched. Ba-chan, are you going to help me or what? It hurts. It won't stop hurting. Can't you do something to make it stop? He says, still grunting, feeling the effects of the Viagra growing stronger. Why yes, I'm going to help you, but you must help me first. She says, not taking her eyes off his. What is it? He asked. You are going to help me get pregnant. Tsunade says lustfully. Pre-pregnant? He repeated, confused. Yes. You are going to put a baby in me. She answers, seeing him look more confused. Now Naruto was a boy of very little brain, since he doesn't know where babies come from or how they are made. No one has never taught him the birds and the bees, since his education was highly sabotaged when he was in the academy. How? He asked, wanting to know how can he put a baby in her. By doing this, she says, leaning up to him, cupping his cheeks and planted her lips on his. Naruto widened his eyes as Tsunade kissed him fully on the lips, as she slid her tongue in Naruto's mouth. With his tongue being coiled by hers, Naruto was suddenly taken in by her kiss, moaning as Tsunade explored his mouth with her tongue. Both moaned, as she used her free hand to grasp his huge, stroking it. Oh, he moaned, feeling Tsunade still kiss him, and stroke his. She would pull away. Come. She guided him over to the stretcher as he sat down. Let us both help each other, Naruto. Think of this as training. I have a deal, if you help me get pregnant, I'll promote you to Chunin. If you succeed my other expectations, I have more offers for you, offers that you wouldn't ignore. She says lustfully, waiting for him to accept as Naruto perked up at the mention of getting promoted to Chunin if he does this. Really? He says with her nodding. Absolutely, she replied. Sure, I'll do it. He says with conviction he'll do anything if it means to show up on Sasuke. This is something he couldn't pee up. He realized he could be the only member on his team ranked as Chunin, since neither he, Sakura or Sasuke were ranked Chunin if it wasn't for the invasion. He couldn't wait to see the look on Sasuke's face. Good boy. Now pay attention. She says, undoing her nurse outfit. Getting herself completely for Naruto, showing off her voluptuous curvy breathable body. She has huge double J cups since she has the biggest S in Konoha according from Jiraiya, curvy wide S that's meant for childbearing. Not only she has a huge rack, but her backside she has a whole cake back there. And so fat and plump that it was impossible to hide or even ignore. A small patch of blonde hair on her throbbing fat cunt with plump lips that desires to be. Tsunade's body is the literal definition of breathable. Naruto's throbbed and twitched in excitement at seeing Tsunade's plump body. Tsunade grinned as she stepped forward and got on her knees and couldn't wait any longer. She brushed her tongue against his, licking it, earning a moan from Naruto as she keeps licking his all over. She was tasting him. My Kami, he tastes so good and salty. She thought, hearing his moans as she leaned down to suck and lick his swelling balls. Feeling his cum inside his sack churn inside. She could tell she was waking his swimmers up inside his balls. His balls are heavy, probably full of cum. I want that sperm. She would suck him off now. Oh, Ba-chan. He moaned, blushing as he felt Tsunade put her mouth on Naruto's, sucking him. Your mouth is so warm, and it feels good, he says while she sucked hungrily on his, sucking harder. She was in heaven. She was deep-throating his shaft, moaning. As loud slurping noises filled the room that they were in. Her was soaking. As she sucked him off hard, she swirled her tongue around his head, while resuming to continue deep-throating him. Naruto was panting and moaning, feeling Tsunade suck him off with her mouth. It felt so good. He was blushing. He gripped the sheets to the stretcher tightly. MMMPHH, MMMMPHH, Tsunade moaned as she sucked harder on his. She wants him to come. She wants to consume his sperm. Oh God, I needed this so bad. It's been so long since I've done this. She thought with lust. She suddenly felt Naruto's throb and twitch in her mouth. Tsunade, something is coming out, he says with a grunt, and without warning he unleashed a huge thick gallon of cum right into Tsunade's mouth and throat. The busty Senju's eyes widened when she felt him blast a hot gallon of his thick cum into her mouth and pouring it down her throat and into her belly. He's coming a lot, she says in thought as her cheeks bloated, as you could hear audible gulps from Tsunade's throat. She was swallowing it. She didn't want to spill any of Naruto's precious sperm. She slowly pulled off of his, without spilling any sperm, as she gulped whatever she had left in her mouth. Some of his cum shot at her face, as she was covered in his thick white creamy essence. My Kami, so much cum. It's so thick and hot, she thought, licking the remaining cum off her face. Oh, Ba-chan. What is that white stuff? He asked. He hoped he didn't pee on her, knowing she'd be disgusted and probably pissed off and would beat the daylights out of him. But she looks like that. Naruto, is your cum. It's baby batter. That's the stuff you use to get any girl pregnant. But you must dump your cum inside their womb, which is their sacred place to make babies. She explains to him what it is. Dan never cummed this much. When me and him had, he only produced small loads. She thought, feeling disappointed in Dan, disappointed with his low sperm count, and disappointed that he couldn't get her pregnant when he was alive. Ba-chan, it's still big, Naruto says, making her snap out of her thoughts and gazes at the still throbbing. Licking her lips, she knew what must be done. Lay down, Naruto, she says, with him doing just that, as she soon straddles herself onto Naruto, positioning herself above his. This is it. No turning back now. If Naruto succeeds, I am making him my personal breeding stud. Where only me and my future Senju daughters can only get bred by him. So the Senju clan can expand. I'll gladly give my body to him. I want him to make my body swollen with his babies, she thought with a lustful smile with hearts in her eyes. Picturing herself swollen with his babies. One hand resting on her large pregnant belly. Prepare yourself, Naruto, she says, and without wasting any time she inserted his into her. As she let out a lustful scream. With Naruto also grunting in pleasure. Ah, it's stretching me. You're stretching my, she yelled in lust as she feels his shaft literally stretching her fat cunt. Oh, Kami. I am inside of Ba-chan. I am inside of her. Naruto yelled as Tsunade rode his thick, taking in his whole length. Oh, foot ckk. She screamed in euphoric pleasure, feeling his entire shaft go past her G-spot and straight into her womb. She used her muscles and her Herculean strength to grip that. As she bounced herself on his hard, making her body jiggle and wobble, her fat made loud claps and plaps in the room. Oh, it's tight around me, Naruto moaned out, feeling Tsunade's clench itself around him in an iron grip. Oh yes. Yes. Yes, Naruto, she screamed out, slamming herself onto him. As she pinned him down with all her weight and strength. Her squeezes him, fully intending on draining that Uzumaki. Oh Kami, he moaned. Do you feel good, Naruto? Tell me, do you feel good? You feel so damn good in my She moaned with a twisted ahegao expression as she panted like the whore she was. This insane pleasure she was feeling was so intoxicating. Dan never made her feel this way before. It's probably because Naruto's is more pleasurable than Dan's. Dan could barely go past her womb like Naruto is doing. Yes. Yes, Ba-chan. This feels amazing, he replied through grunts. As he looked up at Tsunade in lust, she continued to ride him, causing the stretcher to break due to her slamming her huge on him. But Tsunade didn't stop riding him. He gripped her wide S, digging his fingers into her soft cheeks. Good. Good. Let's keep at it. I want you to get me pregnant, she screamed to the top of her lungs. As she started riding him faster and more harder, with her mind focusing on one thing: getting bred by this young Uzumaki stud. Ba-chan, that tingly feeling, in my. Naruto says. Oh, getting close. Yes. Give it to me, Naruto. Knock me up. Breed me. Let's make a family, she screamed in euphoric lust as she felt Naruto's throb and twitch inside her as she rode him one last time, and then Naruto released all his cum into Tsunade. Tsunade let out a lustful howl, as she feels Naruto's sperm flood her and womb. He pumped so much cum in her womb. Tsunade twitched in pleasure. Her eyes turned to hearts. She could feel Naruto's virile Uzumaki sperm impale her eggs, successfully impregnating her. Ah! Naruto moaned, still coming inside Tsunade's. He did it. He did it. I can feel his sperm altering my eggs. I'm definitely pregnant with the amount of sperm he's pouring into me, she says happily. Naruto breathed as Tsunade panted, looking at her womb that's filled with Naruto's cum. Did I do it? He says, looking at her as she smiles down at him, stroking his face. Yes, you did, my Uzumaki stud. As promised, you are now a chunin, she says, getting up off him with cum leaking from her cunt as Naruto smiled. Since you succeeded where others failed at, you and I need to talk. Talk about us. Our future, Naruto, she says, looking at him in full happiness. Our future, he repeated. Yes. Let's go get cleaned up. We have so much to talk about, she says, giving him a kiss on the cheek, making him blush. It was time to make arrangements for her Uzumaki stud. He will live in the Senju clan compound with her. Teach him more about and to you ally please her, since she's going to be wanting him a lot more now after what just happened. Break that silly crush he has for Sakura, and have him be interested with women who are worth his time. Maybe influence him to knock up others to revive the Uzumaki clan, but only she will pick who's worthy to be bred by her Uzumaki stud. But for now, he's her stud until he's ready. She needs to strip him from Team 7 and Jiraiya completely, while having words with both Team 7 and Jiraiya. Punish those who harmed her Uzumaki stud and had a hand in hurting him. She'll make his rank as chunin legal since he wasn't late like that Uchiha brat. That's another thing she's going to crush. It's time for the Senju clan and Uzumaki clan to be recognized as the village's founders here. It's time she gives this village a good sharp kick in the. The two would be back at the Hokage Tower to have their talk. They already showered. Even after she cleaned herself up, she wants more. Her body was immediately craving for that Uzumaki. She could still feel his cum inside her womb churning and sloshing. Tsunade has never been this happy. She finally succeeded. She's pregnant with Naruto's babies. Now she's no longer the last Senju since Naruto impregnated her. The reason I wanted you to get me pregnant, Naruto, is because I am the last of my clan, the Senju clan. And if I were to die, the Senju clan dies with me, so I did what I had to do with you. Tsunade would explain her reasoning for doing what she did with Naruto. Okay, Ba-chan. I will admit it felt kinda good, he says, looking away, blushing. She smiled at him. So about our future. What did you mean by that? He asked as she looked to him, folding her hands. What I mean, Naruto, is that I want us to be a family. I am the mother of your babies now, with you as the father. Since you helped me in reviving the Senju clan, I'm helping you in a way as well. Reviving the Uzumaki clan, she says with him blinking in confusion. What? I have a clan, he repeated with confusion and seriousness in his voice, looking at her in urgency. Yes, you do. The Uzumaki clan is real. And known history fact Naruto is that the Uzumaki clan were also founders of Konoha as well, due to my grandfather, who is the first Hokage Harashirama Senju, marrying my grandmother Mito Uzumaki, who was founder for the Uzumaki clan. Just so you know, Naruto, I'm part Uzumaki as well. She would explain to him about the Uzumaki clan and Senju clan being cousin clans and are family in a way. Naruto was shocked to know that he's in a clan. I don't understand. How come this wasn't mentioned in the academy? Iruka-sensei always told us that it was the Senju and Uchiha who founded Konoha. Naruto said, baffled. I believe I have a hunch on why it was never mentioned in the Konoha Academy. Sarutobi-sensei may had something to do with it regarding your heritage. She answered. My heritage? He repeated. Did the old man lie to him again? Is he keeping things from him? What else has the old man kept from him? I believe it's time you know your heritage anyway. Sarutobi-sensei nor Jiraiya or Kakashi never told you about your parents, did they? She says with him looking to her in urgency, his eyes widened slightly. Those three knew who his parents are and never told him. My parents? You know them? He asked with hope. He's been wanting to know who his parents are for the longest, and all he's been denied answers on the matter. Of course I do. I known your mother. Me and her were close. Her name is Kushina Uzumaki. Tsunade says, grabbing the picture of her and Kushina on her desk and showing it to Naruto. Naruto immediately grabs the picture and stares at it. Seeing his mother for the first time, red hair, blue-violet eyes, she almost looks like him in a way. Tears began to form in his eyes. And who was my father? What happened to my parents? He asked quickly, wanting to know more. Especially if Tsunade is willing to tell him. Tsunade sighed and looked at Naruto calmly. Your father is Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage. She would reveal to him. Naruto widened his eyes in shock. Did she just say? The fourth Hokage is his father. There was silence in the room, as Naruto had to process this very slowly. The fourth Hokage is his father. And put the Kyuubi inside him. What? Naruto shouted with wide eyes with shock and surprise, but it would soon turn to anger. You mean to tell me, my father put the Kyuubi in me? Which was something I didn't ask for. He's the reason I'm hated here in this village. Naruto growled in anger, suddenly drawing on the Kyuubi's chakra. Naruto, calm down, she says softly. Calm down. How can I calm down when I learned today that my own father put the Kyuubi in me, which is why I'm so damn hated here in this village? Naruto says with anger, glaring at Tsunade. The old man, he knew. He knew all along and lied to me. So did that lazy Kakashi and that toad Jiraiya. Naruto growled, immeasurably pissed. Kakashi was a student of the Yondaime, and Jiraiya was the Yondaime's sensei, meaning they knew and kept this from him. Yes, they knew. Jiraiya was supposed to be your godfather, surely he looked after you, didn't he? She says with him narrowing his eyes at that sudden piece of information. Of course not. He wasn't there for me at all. Where was he when I was suffering? I was kicked out of the orphanage at the age of 6 and was forced to live on the streets. He sneered. This made Tsunade narrow her eyes. Well then, I know who's getting a new hole today. Tsunade says in thought, visibly shaking in rage that her Uzumaki stud was treated so poorly and harshly. She's punishing some idiots today. She would walk over to Naruto and pull him in a hug. With him looking up at her, his anger subsides. You don't have to worry about Jiraiya or Kakashi anymore, Naruto. Because starting now, you're living with me. And I will be training you. She says with him looking surprised by this. What? I get to be trained by you. And I'm living with you. I don't know what to say, Ba-chan. He says with a light smile. Yes. You will be living with me. For some special training, I'm removing you completely from Team 7 and Jiraiya. I'm taking full control of your training, she states. What? You're taking me off Team 7? But what about Sakura-chan? He says, with her looking sternly at him. She sighed. Naruto. You need to drop your silly crush on Sakura. She says with him frowning. What? Why? He questioned, wondering why should he drop his feelings for Sakura. Because Naruto. She's weak. She's nothing but a fangirl who only cares about that Uchiha brat. You think she cares about you? I wouldn't want to waste my life with someone who isn't entirely nice to you or even acknowledges you. Has she even thanked you for saving her life when soon as Jinchuriki held her hostage? Tsunade points out while Naruto thought about that. As he looked away. No. He answered. How many times has she rejected you? She questioned. Ever since she was brought here to be Hokage, she had paid little attention of how desperate Naruto was to get Sakura's attention. Only for the pink-haired fangirl to ignore him and hit him. She saw how Sakura seems to be more interested in the Uchiha brat over Naruto, who done more for her. Naruto froze at that, as he recalled on how many times Sakura would always hit him, belittle him for the littlest things he'd do. Of course Naruto was jealous. Jealous of Sasuke and how Sakura seems to be more affectionate with Sasuke than him. It wasn't fair. Not fair at all. Exactly. You don't need to tell me, because judging by your reaction, already confirms that she has rejected you more than once. Tsunade says, looking down at him. You don't need her, Naruto. It's better to let her go and move on. You have me now. You need real women and girls who will return their affection and acknowledgement towards you. Because no matter what you do to even earn her attention, even if it's just a little, all she will do is just keep ignoring you, pushing you away and be with the boy of her dreams. And that boy of dreams won't be you, but Uchiha Sasuke. Tsunade adds, she wasn't being mean, she was just telling him the harsh truth. She will need to get some women and pick them for who's worthy for her Uzumaki stud. So that he can forget all about Sakura. She supposes that she could allow Shizune, in her apade with Naruto. Shizune is like a daughter to Tsunade and an older sister to Naruto. She also treats him with such loving kindness. Not to mention, she is Dan's niece, and that Shizune is possibly the last of the Kato clan. She just needs to convince Shizune to help her little brother Naruto to revive the Uzumaki clan. In a way, she's also reviving her clan. And there is another potential candidate to be with her Uzumaki stud. Anko, Orochimaru's old student that he had abandoned. She and Naruto are both alike, both outcasts. Both hated by the village for sins they didn't commit. Perhaps she can convince the special Jonin to also be a part of this. Then she'll find other women and girls worthy. She'll talk with both of them privately about this. Plus she still has to teach him more about and see how long can he last against her. She needs to test his stamina and get him addicted to her Senju. Naruto looks away after hearing what Tsunade told him, and as much as he didn't want to believe it. Tsunade is right. Sakura will never acknowledge him or see him differently. It's always Sasuke. Tsunade puts her hand on his head, causing him to look up to Tsunade, who gave him a roaring smile of affection towards him. Don't worry, my little Uzumaki stud. I'll even help make you forget all about that little bitch. Once I ride that fat of yours. She says mentally in thought. She could hardly wait for him to call her Tsunade-chan. I suppose it's for the best. He says. Sadly. Cheer up, baby. You're a chunin now. Tonight we are celebrating, and by celebrating I mean you're drinking with me. I need a drinking buddy. She says. What? I have to drink sake with you? He questioned. Absolutely. You're getting your first drink with me tonight. She says with a smile. Hold on. But wouldn't you have to be here in the office doing paperwork? he says while Tsunade's mood suddenly dropped when she was reminded that. God damn it, she growled. I really wanted to celebrate your promotion. She grumbled, going over to a corner to sulk. As Naruto had a sweat drop appear on his forehead. Why not use shadow clones? He says, making Tsunade immediately break out of her sulking and stare at Naruto with shock and awe. What did you just say? She spoke slowly, making sure she heard that right. Why not use shadow clones to do the paperwork? I mean, I use my shadow clones to slack off sometimes and he repeated until Tsunade immediately grabbed the boy and hugged him tight with his face in her fat. You brilliant child. This could absolutely work. She yells in happiness. Thank you, Kami. She thanked with Naruto still in her until she heard muffling and immediately pulled him away and started kissing all over his face, making him blush from her kisses. She puts him down and makes a shadow clone of herself. So what now? He asked. We are going to your apartment and move all your belongings to the Senju estate. Your new home. Plus do a little shopping. Come on now. Because tonight I want to celebrate with my Uzumaki stud. She says, grabbing his hand, and would take him out the office. The shadow clone Tsunade left behind would look both ways and call out Neko. Neko. She called out. Yes. Yugao appeared. Tsunade eyed Yugao up and down. She could tell Yugao is breeding material, considering she lost her fiancé Hayate. Perhaps she'll get Yugao to join as well. I want you to bring me Kakashi Hatake and his 2 students, Sasuke Uchiha and Sakura Haruno. Tsunade says. At once. Yugao replied and would vanish to go retrieve those 3. While she retrieved those 3, Tsunade decides to pull out Team 7's profile and reports and read them. So that she can properly terminate Team 7 while demoting Kakashi. Tsunade and Naruto would be at his apartment. When she saw the state of his apartment, she was very displeased. It's terrible. How could her sensei put him in such a terrible living condition? As she watched him get whatever belongings he could that mattered to him. At least he will be in a much better living environment. Living with her in the Senju clan compound. Got everything, he says. Good. The rest of your stuff can remain here, because it's all being replaced, since I did say we are shopping. So let's drop some of this stuff at my house. Tsunade would say. Hokage Tower. Team 7 was being escorted by Neko to the Hokage Tower. How come Naruto isn't with us? Sakura asked. If I know, says Sasuke with a shrug of his shoulders. Maybe he's already there in Hokage-sama's office. Probably got himself into trouble. Kakashi mused. Yeah. Probably doing another one of his stupid pranks. Sakura says as they reached the office doors of the Hokage office. As they entered, they saw Tsunade Senju sitting at her desk, looking at some paperwork. They expected to see Naruto there, but the blonde boy wasn't in this room. Here is Team 7 Hokage-sama. Yugao says. Thank you, Neko. You are dismissed, I'll take it from here. Tsunade told the Anbu captain, who nodded and vanished in a swirl of leaves. The busty Senju woman fixed her stern glare at 3 before her. Sit. The 3 of you, she says sternly as they immediately sat down. So what's this about, Hokage-sama? You have a mission for us or something? Kakashi says. And where's that idiot Naruto? How come he isn't here? Sakura says, but flinched when she saw Tsunade glare at her. That is going to be discussed now. But right now, the rest of you should be concerned about your future. Tsunade says, with the 3 exchanging looks at one another, then back at Tsunade. How do you mean, Hokage-sama? Kakashi asked as Tsunade faced him. You know, Kakashi. I don't know what my sensei was thinking when he made you sensei and in command of Team 7. She spoke slowly. Hokage-sama. He says, confused by this. I'm going to be blunt about this and get it over with. Team 7 is disbanded, and you, Kakashi, demoted to Chunin. Tsunade says as there was silence when those words hanged in the room. The 3 had to process what was just said recently. What? Kakashi, Sakura and Sasuke said in unison with shock on their faces. Let me repeat myself so the three of you can listen well and listen good. Team 7 is disbanded, finished, over with, terminated. And you Kakashi is demoted to Chunin. Tsunade said with a glare at three of them. Hokage-sama, why? Please tell me why are you doing this? Kakashi asked with urgency. Why is this happening? You want to know why Kakashi? Because this team is a failure. Although that's not the only reason it's getting disbanded. Because of your inability to teach Kakashi. You have a civilian girl who is nothing but a pathetic fangirl who doesn't take her training as a kunoichi seriously and only wants to be a kunoichi to impress the Uchiha. Judging from the preliminaries in the Chunin exams, she was fighting her friend over the Uchiha brat and still lost to her friend Ino Yamanaka, with the latter resulting in a draw. The said Uchiha you have with you is nothing but a spoiled brat that gets everything handed to him and he doesn't have to work or earn for it. It sickens me. He was even late for his match. He should have been disqualified if it wasn't for my traitor-turned-teammate Orochimaru, who impersonated the Cage and made my sensei reconsider his decision in disqualifying the Uchiha brat. Tsunade stated with narrowed eyes. With Sakura flinching, Sasuke glaring and Kakashi looking worried. And Naruto? What about him? Kakashi says, not seeing how come Naruto isn't getting some sort of punishment. Naruto is the only one that actually came to his match and wasn't trying to pull a grand entrance like you did with the Uchiha, and since he technically won his match against Neji Hyuga, Naruto should have been made Chunin, not just for his match, but his efforts in stopping Tsunade's Jinchuriki from destroying this village. Which is an impossible thing for a genin to do, yet he was able to do it without fail. And on his trip with Jiraiya to retrieve me, he defended me from Kabuto hitting him with a completed Rasengan. Sasuke clenched his fists in anger and jealousy, while Sakura was also mad that Naruto is outshining Sasuke, and making them look bad. And you want to know what else? Naruto is now a Chunin. So you no longer have to worry about teaching Naruto anymore. She adds. What? Sasuke yelled in anger. What? But that's not fair. Sakura yelled. Silence. She says, glaring at the two. As she faced Kakashi again. And let me ask you this, Kakashi. Why didn't you train Naruto for the finals when he requested your help? Surely you could have trained both he and Sasuke since your other student didn't make it the preliminaries. Tsunade would ask as the Jonin sweated. Well, you see, Hokage-sama. Sasuke had a much more dangerous opponent than Naruto did, and I needed to focus my full attention on him. Plus, teaching Naruto with Sasuke would have been a waste of time for me to focus on. Which is why I paid him to Ebisu. He answered as her killer intent would grow rapidly. If that was the case, then why did you have Naruto on Team 7 to begin with? She asked with a dangerous tone. I saw a rivalry between the two and I felt it was better Sasuke to improve and grow. Since I feel Sasuke is a lot like me in terms of being a prodigy. He answered with her still glaring deathly at him. So that's it, huh? Well, all the more reason that Team 7 is disbanded. She says with anger in her eyes. I will not accept this. I am a Uchiha elite. You can't disband my team. Sasuke spat until Tsunade grabbed him by the throat, lifting him in the air, making Kakashi and Sakura look in horror. You will accept this, you little shit. Who are you to tell what I can't disband? She hissed in anger. The councils will not, he says, but her grip tightened. The councils will what? They can't and won't do shit. I don't give a flying if you are the last Uchiha. To me, all you are is nothing but a spoiled brat that wants everything handed to him. While Naruto had to work his off to get what he earns, but he's never given what he's supposed to earn. Tsunade says, dropping Sasuke down, glaring at him in disgust. Please, Hokage-sama, reconsider. Don't disband Team 7. Kakashi pleaded. My order is absolute. You disappoint me, Kakashi, and I'm sure your sensei will be too. You need not to worry about Naruto. He's in good hands already. She says with a scowl, making him and Team 7 flinch. So he's not getting punished. How come that idiot gets off free? Sakura screeched but flinched when she saw Tsunade approach her and grab her by the scuff of her shirt, picking her up, making her come face to face with Tsunade, who stared at Sakura with a promising look of death. Never insult Naruto in my presence. And also, Tsunade says, now inching towards Sakura's ear to whisper to her. If you ever lay your hands on him ever again, I'll kill you. Tsunade whispers her threat to Sakura, with Sakura looking at her with wide eyes. What, you can't, I'm his Sakura-chan, Sakura whispers back, but Tsunade then wrapped her hand around Sakura's throat, choking her. Not anymore, you are not. Stay away from him. Tsunade hissing, tossing Sakura at the wall. Shocking the others. Get thee out of my sight. All of you. Tsunade hissed, as they would immediately leave, not wanting to piss her off. Now with that out of the way, she needs to call Jiraiya and question him now. Hey Tsunade Haim, says a familiar voice coming from the window. Speak of the devil, she thought, mentally staring at Jiraiya. Just thought I'd come by and say hello. Before I go meet my informant, he says. Come in, Jiraiya. We need to talk, she says with seriousness in her tone. Having caught that, he immediately did as told. So what's up? He says. Jiraiya, I am only going to ask this once, why haven't you did your duties as Naruto's godfather? Tsunade says with barely controlled anger, making him go pale and started sweating. Oh shit, he muttered in thought, putting up a serious expression and faces Tsunade. He spoke. Now Tsunade, I know I haven't been the best godfather, but I had, he would say, but she cut him off. Excuses. I don't want to hear them. You left him alone for 12 years. Naruto spent 12 years of loneliness thinking he had no family. Do you have any idea how he felt? Or you probably didn't care because you were too busy probably peeping in bathhouses and doing more of your research aside from your spy network. Tsunade spat with anger as Jiraiya could have sworn he saw fire ignite in her eyes. Tsunade, wait, it's not, he tried to say, but she glared at him hard, which silenced him. It seems to me that you never bothered to at least visit Naruto or check on his well-being. How do I know this? I looked into Sensei's diary and saw that you've been recently visiting Sensei, giving him reports once a month from your spy network. Care to tell me why you never thought to visit him? Or the very least get to know him? Or tell him that you are his godfather and you was supposed to be raising him? Tell him about his parents. Answer me, Jiraiya. Tsunade growled with anger as the toad sage sighed. He knew lying to her probably wasn't a good idea. Because she knows when he's lying. Well, Tsunade, at the time I was busy managing my spy network and you know. My research. He says as he saw more fire ignite in her eyes and she was covered in killer intent. So you cared more about your spy network and your precious research, more than your godson. A godson your student entrusted you with. She spoke in a cold, deathly tone. Well, Sensei said I didn't have to worry about Naruto and that he could handle it, Jiraiya says, but she slammed her hands on the desk, startled him. Bullshit. You probably didn't want to be bothered with Naruto at all, did you? Tsunade yelled, now rising from her desk, glaring into him as he shrunk in fear at her glare. His silence pretty much confirmed that was true. Minato would be ashamed to call you his sensei. And probably no doubt realized his mistake in making you godfather to his son. Tsunade says, causing Jiraiya to look up at her, that she brought up his dead student. Naruto knows. He asked with wide eyes. I told him who his parents are. I told him everything. Even about you being his godfather. Tsunade confirmed, with Jiraiya looking mortified. Tsunade, why did you tell him? He wasn't ready to know such things about his parents or the Uzumaki, he says, but was suddenly lifted in the air by the scruff of his clothing and was slammed into the wall, looking at her angry glare. After what he's been through. Do you know that Naruto was abused? Abused by the very shinobi and villagers both his parents risked their lives for. Saving this shithole of a village. Thinking he had no one Who would give a damn about him? She growled, keeping him pinned to the wall. Apply pressure close to forming a new hole in her office wall. Jiraiya looked away. No, I didn't, he admits as he could feel her tight grip. Why was the Uzumaki clan's knowledge or history of it removed Jiraiya? She demanded. It was the only way for Naruto not knowing about his clan. If Naruto knew, he would have traced the dots and would began asking who his parents are. It was removed right after the days of his birth. He answered as Tsunade looked livid. So Konoha's current generation just believes the Uchiha and Senju founded this village. Wrong. The Uzumaki clan also helped founded this village, knowing my grandfather married my grandmother. Therefore making us cousin clans. Sensei and those old bags had no right to do that. She growled as he winced. I'm going to correct Minato's mistake along with Sensei's mistake. You will not go anywhere near Naruto ever again. Your guardians as his godfather is terminated. Tsunade says with him looking up. Now wait a minute, Tsunade, you can't do this. He's my godson too, he says in protest until she grabbed his throat, choking him and bringing him face to meet her eyes. You lost all rights to being his godfather. I don't want you anywhere near him at all. He's my responsibility now. She growled, slamming him back on the wall hard, creating a spider web like Shatterpoint. But, I'm supposed to train him. Make him an apprentice. He's already signed the Toad summoning contract. The Toads will be very displeased. Jiraiya says in protest. You are not going to train him anymore. I will. I can see that you will no doubt waste his potential like Kakashi has done. He's going to be my apprentice, whether you like it or not. She would toss him across the room, tossing him to a nearby cabinet as she walked up to him, cracking her knuckles and fists. Jiraiya looked up in horror, seeing the murderous intent in her eyes. Please, Tsunade, give me another chance. Don't do this. Don't rough me up too badly. I have to see my informant. He pleaded, seeing her get closer. Do not worry, Jiraiya. I'm not going to kill you. You might as well wish that I did. And you are going to tell me who is your informant and where can I meet he or she so I can meet either of them personally. This is for Naruto. She let out a roar of rage and channeled chakra into her fists and began delivering a barrage of ballistic punches on Jiraiya's body as his howls of pain and screaming echoed throughout Konoha. Back with Naruto and Tsunade. The real Tsunade is currently in a lingerie store. With the real Naruto sitting outside waiting for her, she took him shopping to grab a couple of things, but she wanted to stop at this lingerie store. She is currently in the fitting room, trying out various outfits that will entice her Uzumaki stud. She is currently wearing a white loincloth that drapes her exposed entrance, along with showing a lot of her backside. She was topless. She wondered, would this arouse her stud? She reaches for her second outfit that she picked. It was a bikini cowgirl outfit. A bra with cow prints along with a thong with matching colors. Cow stockings, cow sleeves, she even wore cow ears and horns on her head. She shoved a cow tail butt plug in her. A cowbell around her neck. As she posed in front of the mirror. Getting on all fours like a cow would. A mental image appeared in her mind. Seeing herself as a cow on the farm. Alone in the green meadows, then she sees a blonde-haired hung bull approaching her. And that bull would be Naruto. As he wishes to mate with her and breed her. Moo. Cow Tsunade moaned as the breeding bull, Naruto plowed her from behind and would proceed to breed Cow Tsunade. In her little fantasy, Cow Tsunade would be heavily pregnant, feeling the strong kicks, kick her belly. Moo. Bellowed Cow Tsunade, rubbing her swollen belly with her breeding bull approaching behind her with his hands on her heaving lacting s that lactated milk constantly ever since she has been impregnated by Naruto the bull. Cow Tsunade looked at her lover, mate in affection as he leaned down to suck her, drinking her milk, which made her moan in the process. Moo. Cow Tsunade moaned. Tsunade smiled lustfully at the little fantasy she had. Her and her daughters will be Senju cows for the Uzumaki breeding bull. She'll buy both these outfits. She'll definitely wear these on their nights. On my way out, Naruto. She calls out. Back with Tsunade and Jiraiya. The sound of punching, kicking, loud thuds, smacking echoed along with the sounds of bones being crushed or snapped as Jiraiya's screams of pain could be heard. Tsunade kept punching the daylights out of Jiraiya. As she slammed his face against the wall and then made him face her, she would give him her left hook, as she continued to beat him to the point of death. But would heal him just to keep him from actually dying. Tsunade had stopped. Her fists were covered in Jiraiya's blood as she glared at a beaten pulp Jiraiya whose face had black eyes, deformed from her punching his skull in, as the toad sage groaned in pain from Tsunade who beaten him senseless and to the point of death. He's never pissed her off this much, and the only time he did was when he peeped on her. Please, no more, he begged. Tell me where will I meet your informant? I'm going there myself. She growled, pressing her foot on his crotch. Okay, I'll tell you. Just please no more, he replied as he would begin to tell Tsunade where to meet his informant. Thank you, Jiraiya. Now, get thee out, she hissed, grabbing him and tossing him right out of the window, sending him through 3 buildings. Now with that over with, she can make plans to meet his informant tonight. Somewhere on the border of Konoha. She'll take Yugao as her escort. Senju estate. Naruto and Tsunade entered the estate of the Senju clan. Tsunade-sama, is that you? Says the voice of Shizune. Yes, it's me. Tsunade confirms. Hi big sis Shizune. Naruto greets. Naruto. Hi, what are you doing here? Shizune asked. Naruto will be living with us, for now on, Shizune. As of right now, we are a family. Tsunade declares with a smile. Oh, how wonderful. Come, let me show you your room. Come follow me, Naruto-kun. Shizune says as she gestured Naruto to follow, in which he did. Tsunade smiled. Sure, the guest room can be his room for the time being. But for every night, he sleeps with her. Now she has to figure out how can she convince Shizune to join. Plus, she still plans on taking Naruto out to dinner tonight and get him drunk on his first night drinking with her. And when he's drunk, she'll see can she arouse him in a night of paon. How could this have happened? The former Jonin was now at the memorial stone, thinking on how could this have happened. Where did he go wrong? This has to be some sort of nightmare, right? Team 7 terminated and he is demoted to Chunin. How will he explain this to the others? That he's been demoted. With Sasuke. How dare that Senju bitch deprive him his vengeance? She has no right to do it. It's his destiny to get revenge on Itachi. How will he grow stronger? How could that Dobi Naruto get off so easily and get promoted to Chunin? It isn't fair. Maybe that Senju bitch probably is doing this out of a grudge against the Uchiha clan being more favored than the Senju clan. That has to be the case. He must go to the councils and elders for this, because he will not stand for any of this. With Sakura, she walked aimlessly onto the streets, head hung low, and crying. She's no longer a kunoichi, she's now a reduced civilian like Sasuke-kun. Her beloved Sasuke-kun is visibly upset by this turn of events. How could this have happened? Sakura asked herself as she then thought back on Naruto. Naruto, that blonde idiot. He probably did this out of complete jealousy. That idiot is definitely the cause of this. He was always jealous of Sasuke-kun. Spat inner Sakura. Sakura clenched her fists in anger now, knowing who's to blame for all of this. Naruto. He was always jealous of her Sasuke-kun, that he chose to do this all because she constantly chooses Sasuke over him. She needs to do something. She would proceed to go look for the blonde idiot who ruined everything for her because of his jealousy. She immediately paused, remembering Tsunade's threat. If you ever lay your hands on him ever again, I'll kill you. Tsunade whispers her threat to Sakura, with Sakura looking at her with wide eyes. Sakura shivered lightly. She was scared. She didn't want to die, and pissing off the most strongest woman in Konoha, who could kill her in many ways, probably wouldn't be the best idea. What did Naruto do to get Tsunade on his side? Maybe she can go home to her parents and tell them what happened. Her father is likely on the civilian council, so is her mother. Maybe they can convince Tsunade to give her another chance. This has to work. If not, then she'll have to go with Plan B. She'll have to act nice to Naruto and maybe convince him to get Tsunade to give her another chance as a kunoichi again, maybe convince him to bring Team 7 back. That idiot will do anything for me, she thought with a smile. If Plan A didn't work, then Plan B will have to do. With Jiraiya, the Toad Sage was currently in the Konoha hospital, bandaged and in a full body cast, groaning in pain after the beating Tsunade gave him. Almost every bone in his body is broken, and it seems that he will be in the hospital for a while, because if Tsunade was this pissed, then chances are that she's not going to heal him anytime soon. Senju clan home. After getting Naruto's room together, Shizune would be looking for her sensei, who so happens to be in the living room, as if Tsunade had been waiting for her. So how did it go? Tsunade asked, holding a cup of green tea. He loved his room. He's currently enjoying it. I'm so happy that you decided to take Naruto-kun in. I'm happy that we are actually going to be a family. What made you adopt him? Shizune asked her mentor. She then noticed something off about her sensei. Tsunade looked happy. And was she seeing things, or was her sensei glowing? Tsunade for her part just smiled warmly. I had my reasons for adopting him. He's an Uzumaki like me. I am literally his family now. And since we are now a family, things are going to change around here, Shizune. And with you as his big sister, I feel that you should connect with him more like a big sister should, Tsunade would say to Shizune as her warm smile never left her face. I will do just that. We'll do plenty of bonding with him tomorrow. I'll be heading back to the hospital, Shizune says, heading out. See you later, Tsunade said, watching Shizune leave. Perhaps tomorrow, she'll give Shizune an off day from the hospital and plan how to get Shizune to bond with Naruto. And she has just the idea to do it. Naruto, Tsunade calls out as she hears him run down the stairs coming into the dining room. What's up, Ba-chan? Naruto asked, seeing her get up from her seat and walk over to him with her hand resting on his head. I want you to get nice and dressed. Tonight we are celebrating your promotion as Chunin. She tells him. Okay. He replies. Yes. We are going out to dinner. Consider it a date. Tsunade says, stroking his face affectionately, making him blush. I'm going on a date with Ba-chan. He says to himself, blushing. Come on now, honey. Let's get ready. Tsunade says, ushering him to go get ready. If she's planning on getting him drunk tonight, she needs to get him to drink the strongest sake, alcohol that will effectively make him drunk. Later on, Naruto would be dressed in something different than his orange jumpsuit. He would wear orange and black pants, with matching shoes, a orange and black top with long sleeves. He would be waiting for Tsunade to come down from her room since she is getting dressed. I'm ready, Naruto-kun, Tsunade would say, making Naruto glance at her, as he saw her walking down the stairs in a green dress, wearing a green-collared choker, the top of it exposed most of her fat. The dress had flower decals on it. As she walked down with each step making her jiggle. She wore a vanilla-like scent perfume on her. As she could see, Naruto was staring. Naruto never realized how beautiful Tsunade was. Tsunade would take notice of this and smiled. Like it? She asked, walking towards him, seeing Naruto's mouth hung open. As she closed his mouth. Why, yes. You look nice, Ba-chan. He says, looking away with a blush. She giggled lightly as she took his arm and intertwined it with hers. Let's go, she says as both would leave the house. Now in the village, what felt like 5 minutes, both Naruto and Tsunade were walking together with their arms linked. Catching the attention of many onlookers, they knew better than to say any negative things, if they see the Hokage present with the demon brat. and they decided to keep their mouths shut. All they could do was just stay quiet and stare. Ba-chan. They are staring at us. Naruto whispered as he felt Tsunade pull him close. I know. Hold your head high. Because they know the moment they say something negative towards you, I won't tolerate it. Tsunade says, giving the villagers a glare that made them flinch at the sight, as if she was daring them to say anything. They immediately looked away. Naruto did as Tsunade told him, kept his head up high. As he faced Tsunade in a new light. The Sandaime Hokage was hardly like this with him. They would soon go to a bar and restaurant. The host would greet them until he saw Naruto standing with Tsunade. He froze as Tsunade gave him a stern look. Is there a problem? Tsunade challenged with a raised eyebrow. No Hokage-sama. It's just that, he tried to say. He's with me. Do we have a problem? Tsunade said with her stern glare increasing. No. Allow me to guide you to your table. He says, now taking Tsunade and Naruto to their table. No one dared to say anything. Civilian and shinobi alike in the bar stayed quiet. Naruto would smile at Tsunade with her smiling back as the waiter came. What can I get you to? He asked. Plenty of chicken tenders. Plus, I want the strongest sake you have here in your bar. I want it specifically for me and him. Tsunade answered, making the waiter now face Naruto. I'll take a large bowl of pork ramen please. Naruto says as the waiter wrote down the orders. As they waited for their orders, the two would talk for a while. And when their food got here, they immediately started eating. While Tsunade was also pouring up their sake cups. And it is the strongest sake in the restaurant. Tsunade would give Naruto his cup. Take your cup, she says as he picked it up, inspecting the sake as he looked at Tsunade. Congratulations on your promotion as Chunin, Naruto. And with that, Tsunade took the first sip as Naruto was hesitant at first but took his sip, tasting the strong booze. Oh, that's strong, he says as Tsunade chuckled. Come on Naruto. Let's keep drinking. If you want to be Hokage someday, you gotta drink like one. She urged him as he immediately would resume drinking the sake while Tsunade took small sips. She wanted to see will he get drunk. Naruto gulped down the whole cup as his cheeks began to get red. Wow. This feels, he starts. Good and liberating, right? Here, have some more. She poured him up more sake as he would drink again, feeling his world go hazy. Face red and has on a semi-drunken expression. Tsunade smiled watching Naruto drinking the fourth cup of sake as he smiled drunken, holding his fifth cup of sake. Oh Kami. This stuff is wicked. Drunk, Naruto says. Ready to go home? Tsunade asked. She didn't drink anymore, all she did was watch Naruto drink. Yeah. He jumped up smiling, then stumbled until Tsunade caught him. Leaning on her belly. As she stood up, catching him, his hands wrapped around her wide S. Then let's go. She carried him in bridal style, walking out the door. Senju home. Tsunade had returned as she carried the drunk Naruto up to her bedroom. She laid Naruto on the bed, who was still drunk. As he ped out, Tsunade decided to take her clothes off, getting completely, and climb into bed with him with her arms around the boy. As she too would snake her hand into his pants, grabbing his, stroking him. This would immediately wake Naruto up, feeling his suddenly throb just from Tsunade touching him. Ba-cha, he tried to say until Tsunade leaned up to him and brought him into a deep kiss, which immediately made him kiss her back. She pulled away as a trail of saliva connected between them. Ba-chan. It's hard. He says. It's fine stud. Let Mama Tsunade take care of it, Tsunade says, immediately putting her fat in between his and start giving him a tit job, bouncing her up and down. As Naruto's throbbed harder and twitched. Oh, he's getting bigger. Kushina, if you were alive right now, I'd kiss you for giving birth to such hung young stud. Tsunade says in thought, still bouncing her tits up in and down. Naruto blushed, feeling how good Tsunade's tits were in between his. They feel so soft. Tsunade continued bouncing her tits up faster as Naruto groaned, clutching the blankets. Naruto's twitched and throbbed. "I'm coming," he says as he sprayed his thick hot load on Tsunade's face and tits. Tsunade would lick some off her face, moaning in delight as she tasted him. It's time I teach you how to pleasure a woman," she says, switching positions as they would be in 69 position. Naruto looked up at Tsunade's wet, her heaving fat right above him. "I want you to taste my Senju, while I taste this fat of yours," she says lustfully as she proceeded to smother Naruto with her. As out of instinct Naruto would lick her, making her moan lightly. "Oh, yes. Just like that," she moaned as she would proceed to lick his up and down as he licked her, feeling her wet juices flow. She was grind her on his face, marking him in her juices. Ba-chans, he thought, still licking and eating out her, making her moan. Why did her moans make him feel more aroused? Out of instinct he stuck his tongue inside her, drinking her flowing juices, licking her insides. "Oh, he's licking me on the inside, his tongue feels so good," Tsunade moaned in thought. Yes, yes, she moaned, still licking his up and down, making his covered in her saliva while planting lots of kisses on his bitch breaker. Naruto kept up the momentum, swirling his tongue all inside her entrance. "Oh, ooh, Naruto," she moaned. "Ah, I'm going to cum." Tsunade yelled, immediately coming on Naruto's mouth and his face, covering him in her juices. One moment Naruto would be sucking on Tsunade's tongue while she fondled his body. Moaning as they did, they pulled away, with Naruto panting, looking up at Tsunade, who had the most seductive expression ever. They would pull away while Tsunade laid on her back, spreading her legs wide, viewing her. "Come, I want you to put it inside me," she says lustfully as Naruto walked over his throbbing, looking at Tsunade's own throbbing. "Put it in me, stud. Mama going to show you how to have your way with a woman, I want you to me," Tsunade pleaded as Naruto obeyed, feeling his own lust take over him. As he inserted himself inside her, making her throw her head back in pleasure. The sounds of clapping and clapping noises filled the room, along with Tsunade's Europic moans that also echoed through the room. The bed was shaking vividly as Naruto thrusted himself deeper into Tsunade's, slamming his S forward. He grunted in pleasure as he felt Tsunade's clench his thick so tight. Tsunade was panting and moaning during all of this as she felt Naruto plunge himself so deep that she was practically screaming and drowning in her own Europic pleasure. She had hard eyes, looking at Naruto with love and lust. Truly happy that she has him as her personal stud. Naruto himself was panting as he held Tsunade's wide S, thrusting with hard strokes into Tsunade's, already impaled himself into her impregnated womb. "Ah, yes, yes, Naruto-kun, this is the way," she moaned, wrapping her thighs around his short body, keeping him in place as he kept thrusting into her. "Oh, ba-cha," he says, drunk until she looked up at him. "Call me mama, honey. Call me mama," she says. "Mama, Mama Sue," he says as she smiled. "Way better than ba-chan. I want you to call me mama. Or if you want, you can call me Tsunade-chan," she offered in between moans. "Oh, mama," Naruto moaned, plowing himself into her as Tsunade looked happy that he called her mama. All her life she wanted children. She wanted to be called mommy, or mama, by her own future children if she ever had any. This was before Dan had died. She always dreamed of having his children. But the moment when it was revealed that Dan's seed was infertile and that he failed to get her pregnant, that dream shattered. But now her resolve to have children and keep the Senju clan bloodline alive has grown stronger and determined, thanks to her finding out that Naruto, being the last Uzumaki male and that he's a certified stud, gave her hope again. She's in love with Naruto. And wants to only be impregnated by him, and him alone. Jiraiya can off. She knew that idiot has feelings for her, but she will never acknowledge or accept them. He doesn't love her. He only loves her for her body. And to top it off, he's a pervert and a leech. It was no secret that Jiraiya had always been jealous of not just Orochimaru, but his student Minato, their sensei, and possibly to an extent even her. But also towards her lover Dan. He was jealous of being in everyone's shadow. It was likely no wonder he didn't want to be a part of Naruto's life and would rather care about his own needs than Naruto's. Well now, Jiraiya can't have her. Her body, mind and soul belongs only to Naruto. Naruto owns her body now. Jiraiya's pencil-shaped can't beat Naruto's fat huge bitch breaker that could put any man to shame. She often wondered how can Naruto walk with something so huge. He practically has a third leg. Even Dan's couldn't beat Naruto's. Naruto could definitely be husband material. Tsunade smiled, having a fantasy of her and Naruto getting married. In the background of the wedding would be a crying Jiraiya. Oh, Su mama. That feeling. I am going to. Circa. Naruto says in between grunts of pleasure. Come in me. Dump it all in mama baby. Tsunade moaned out with looking into Naruto's drunken expression. Naruto's throbbed and twitched as he suddenly began shooting his hot thick load in Tsunade's impregnated cunt. Tsunade sighed happily, feeling her cunt and womb bloated with Naruto's thick cum. Oh. You're filled mama good, she moaned, feeling him pull out, and right after he did, he was still hard. Mama. It's still big. Naruto says, looking at his throbbing. Tsunade smiled, as she immediately got on all fours, directing her big fat to him. Put it in mama's. She reached to pull her cheek to the side to show her hole. Naruto's eyes were glossy as he looked at Tsunade's fat dump trunk of an. That he came to admire it. He went over and looked at her. Put it inside my hole baby, think of it like a. All women must have all three of their holes on their body pleasured, their mouths, pussies and holes. Those are the holes, Tsunade urged him like a whore in heat. She really wants to see how he feels in her. Naruto straightens his and inserted it in her tight hole, making Tsunade moan, feeling him slide his huge fat into her. Ah. Yes. It's in my. Tsunade moaned as Naruto began thrusting into Tsunade's. Thrusting strongly into her, as her cheeks clapped and rippled like jelly. Oh, mamas, Naruto moaned, pounding into her. As the two engaged in doggy style. Oh baby, yes. Spank mamas. I want you to hit me. Tsunade urged Naruto to spank her. Naruto's eyes immediately went to glance at Tsunade's wobbling cheeks from him thrusting into her as he raised his hand and brought it down in Tsunade's cheek, making her yelp, lightly. Yes. More baby. Tsunade begged as Naruto proceeded to spank her more, causing her to moan in pleasure, enjoying of having her spanked as her hole clenched tighter around his. Su mama. You're just got tighter from me spanking it. He told her, grunting. Yes. Oh, you feel so good in my. Keep pounding me. Smack this. Tsunade moaned out, feeling happy. Enjoying this pleasure. Naruto would not only keep thrusting but also kept spanking her cheeks. He was spanking both sides until they are both red and covered with Naruto's handprints. Her cheeks were being abused and she enjoyed it. Oh, this feels so good. Why does this feel good, mama? Naruto asked. Ah. That's pleasure baby. Embrace it. Let it flow through you, she answered, feeling his thrusts getting faster now. As she let out loud moans. Oh, I am going to come. Naruto warned her. Pour it in my. I want all my holes filled. She urged him as Naruto grunted and released his cum in her, spraying a thick load deep in her hole. Tsunade had a happy expression, feeling her hole being filled up with Naruto's cum. He pulled out, only to widen his eyes slightly, seeing his still rock hard and throbbing. Tsunade laid down, panting, trying to regain her composure. Naruto's POV. Why does this feel so good? He's never felt this way before. This is the second time he's done this with Tsunade, and he's beginning to feel addicted to it. Why is he having these urges? These urges that he can't explain. Ever since he lost his virginity to Tsunade, he can't stop having these images of Tsunade being and touching his. All he could think about was Tsunade's body. Those huge tits. Her wide ass, and her fat. He mentally compared Tsunade's body to Sakura's body. Sakura's body was petite. She was practically skin and bones. She lacked S like Tsunade. Her was somewhat just right but can't beat Tsunade's soft plump that's so smackable that it jiggles like jelly. Tsunade's older mature body looked superior according to Jiraiya. As if Tsunade had a well-endowed body like a goddess. She was curvy and thick in all the right places. She has huge S that could potentially be full of milk and could feed children with huge milking knockers like that. Wide S that's potentially childbearing. And so fat and plump that you could smack it however you want. Tsunade's body is a lot more desirable and breedable than Sakura's petite skin and bone-framed body. Jiraiya did say to always appreciate a woman's body. And Tsunade was willing to give him her body. Knowing Sakura would never. Naruto would consider on taking Jiraiya's words to heart. Wait a minute, Jiraiya. Something clicked for Naruto. He recalled when Tsunade told him Jiraiya was his godfather. The godfather who neglected him. During the Tsunade retrieval mission he always heard Jiraiya run his mouth about his love for Tsunade. When she clearly isn't interested in him. He also seems to remember her love for Dan. His thoughts drifted back to Jiraiya. The man who was supposed to look after him after his parents died. The man who was never there for him. He knows Jiraiya still has feelings for Tsunade. Well, too bad. Because he's going to give Jiraiya some payback for neglecting him all those years. By showing the neglectful bastard that Tsunade belongs to him. Naruto's throbbed violently. Make that toader pay by denying him a chance with Tsunade. Full of determination and confidence Naruto grabbed Tsunade's S and made her roll over on her back. Tsunade, who looked taken back by this, looked up at Naruto. Naruto. She spoke looking up facing him. But then felt a shiver run down her spine. Naruto stared at her with rare dominance in his eyes. His eyes were a shade of crimson. His whisker marks on his face became darker. And that he was slightly flaring the Kyuubi's chakra. What happened next? Would be Naruto spreading Tsunade's thick thighs and shoving his huge back in Tsunade's. Making her scream so loud that Naruto immediately pinned her down aggressively in full-on mating press. Ah, Naruto. Baby. She moaned looking up at him. I'm doing this because I don't want that toader to think he has a chance with you. Naruto growled, urging his newly awakened dominance and kept ramming himself aggressively inside Tsunade. Oh, Tsunade moaned. She can barely comprehend on what just overcame Naruto. What happened to him that made him so assertive and dominant? Did he undergo a complete personality change? Loud clapping and plapping noises filled the room along with Tsunade's lustful howls of pleasure. As Naruto slammed himself so deep into Tsunade that she suddenly had a broken ahegao expression. Yes. Me hard. Mama hard. Tsunade pleaded with hard eyes. Jiraiya can't have you, mama. I want you. I want to keep you and get you pregnant. Over and over. Naruto says in between thrusts. Yes. Yes. Yes, my Uzumaki stud. Keep me. I want you to make me pregnant. I want to make Uzumaki babies with you. I want daughters. And I want you to make them pregnant. So that the clan can expand. Tsunade screamed in pleasure, loving this Naruto. Whatever she did that made Naruto this way. She wants him to stay like this. Perhaps she can influence him to be dominant. Encourage him to be more assertive and dominant. While Naruto roughly plows himself in Tsunade. Meanwhile, Shizune would enter the Senju clan home, coming back from the hospital at this time of the night, wondering if Naruto or Tsunade were up. Shizune would go up to Naruto's room expecting him there in his bed sleep, only to find him not there. Confused, Shizune wonders where did Naruto go. But then she got her answer when she heard Tsunade moan. Is her master having? Is she seeing someone? She wonders who's the man who took her master's heart. Has she moved on from her Uncle Dan? The young woman faced her pig Taunton, who only shrugged, Being nosy, Shizune decided to see who did her master bring here. She walked down the hall to Tsunade's door and reached to open it. Oh, Naruto-kun, yes. Me. Mama. Tsunade howled in pleasure. Shizune's eyes grew wide as dinner plates taken back by this. What? Naruto. Shizune gasped mentally. Flabbergasted and mortified, Shizune immediately went to the door to question her sensei on how could she do such a thing to Naruto. Who's too young for? As she opened the door, Shizune's nose was struck with the scent of sweat, and as she got in, her eyes widened seeing Naruto's huge plow into her sensei in full-on mating press. Oh my kami. Shizune gasped mentally in shock with her hand going to her mouth. Shizune blushed, face full red, as she looked at Naruto's sliding in and out of Tsunade, who looked like a happy whore in heat. Both of them failed to notice Shizune in the room. Shizune was frozen still like a statue, unable to look away, her hardened at the sight. Her got wet. She was literally soaking while watching this. Her eyes were glued to Naruto's. How could anyone have something so inhumanly huge? From the corner of Tsunade's eyes she spotted Shizune. Wait. Shizune. Sensei. Shrieked Shizune. Shizune. It's not what it looks like. Tsunade says in between moans as she felt Naruto's throb and twitch. Coming. Naruto growled, dumping another load of cum into Tsunade that her belly and womb bloated and expanded. Tsunade let out a howl of pleasure after being pumped with so much cum. Naruto pulled out of her overstuffed cunt that's overflowing with cum. As the Senju woman's body twitched and convulsed, Shizune stood there frozen as she eyed Naruto's full length that was still throbbing. He turned to Shizune with lustful hunger. Big sis Shizune, I want to play with you, Naruto says with a grin.